All right, so it looks like today is March the 10th. This is the 5:30 Central show. Today we're going to be doing a full race night. That includes backgate entry, creating the lineups, connecting to MRP Live, doing results, points and payout, um, printing checks, and other common questions. So um, we'll get right into it. I will say that I have muted everyone. So if you do have any questions, Alt and H is the place to do that. Um, if you ask any questions, I will answer them. We will have a spot dedicated to questions, so feel free to ask away. And also, if you don't feel comfortable bringing that up to everyone, you do have the option there when you pull up the chat window to send it to just me directly. So it will be more private. So that way, you know, you can ask the question and it will be anonymous. I do know though, after doing so many of these, that if you have a question, odds are someone else will have that question as well. So don't be afraid to do that. So let's take a look here at the race management. So inside of the season management, I've actually gone in and created my schedule, and I have a date already in there. If you do have any questions about setting up your schedule, we do go over that in some of the other webinars. And on that webinar page, you can actually go through and all of the past webinars that are on YouTube. We have direct links to those. You can also find those on the YouTube channel. Or if you really, really want to know, odds are if you ask about it, I might go over it. So um, just kind of a heads up there. So I've set that up. I have a few classes in here. So we have our 410 winged sprint class today that we're going to be doing. So we're able to see what we want to do about pill options and see what we want to do about transponders. So each one of these classes will have its own individual thing. So if one class was using like a 3-week point average, and some classes are using transponders and some classes are pill draw, we could do that. We could set all that up and we'll be good to go. So inside of here, we can have a few options for what we want to do about pill draw. So we can just not do it. That's always an option. So we have the fast check-in process. That's going to be where the numbers are just drawn from the computer without anyone doing anything. We can have it where the driver will hit a button. This version of that will be done before we pick a driver. So before we pick a driver, we'll draw, and then we'll pick the driver with that number. We can just do it manually. So it'll check in the box there when we pick a driver. And we could, after check-in, so after we check in a driver, then we could have him press a button. Or we could just do it manually, where after we enter in all the drivers, we can put in all the numbers off to the right-hand side on the entry list. If we're having the system draw for us, we can enter in the maximum pill number. So the maximum pill can be go up pretty high there or low, however we need that to be. We also can do a rebase option. And the rebase option, essentially what that'll do is it sets a new low number for those. So right now it's set to 1, but if we were to set it to something like 50, 50 would be the best number that you could draw, and 49 would be the worst. We also have our transponder options. So we have no transponders and allowing it rentals or not allowing rentals, whatever the case may be. My track that I'm doing here, we allow rentals. So you'll see that the biggest difference is the ones that have rentals will have a little checkbox there. And it'll keep track of that inside of our transponder list report. I'll show you that in a little bit. So we'll get started here. We're going to open up a transponder system. I'm going to start with orbits today. So I'll open up my orbits, and we're going to link up orbits 5.4 here to MRP Live. We're going to use that for the race, for the heats, and then we will do Westhold in a different, in the features. We'll do the features in that. So I'm going to hit launch from web. If you need to download MRP Live, You can do that right here. So you can download that application onto your computer, and then we can get it synced up here by doing a couple different things. So let's do that here. So inside of Orbitz, we're going to go to the scoreboard and scoreboard settings. We're going to make sure the scoreboard feed is enabled. We're going to copy this IP address from Orbitz, and we're going to put that right here. Make sure Orbitz is checked. We're going to take the TCP IP port, whatever's in this box. We're going to put that here. The assignments path for Orbitz can be wherever you want. I actually make folders for each event that I'm going to be running, just so that I have good organization of those files. And I have those on the desktop. What I'd recommend you do is, if you're doing that, have a file on your desktop, and each event has a folder already pre-made in there, because you'll know your schedule. These demonstrations, I always just make them on the fly, but you could make on the desktop, make that folder and have all the dates in there all ready to go. So you have that, and then the last piece of the puzzle here is this MRP Live code. So inside of here, we have this MRP Live code. This is going to be different from week to week here, and when I hit launch from web, it actually put that code in there for me. We could also copy and paste it if we want, but launch from web will pull that up there and connect it for you automatically. So odds are, if you connect to this, at your track, 1 week, generally these settings aren't going to change too often. It's possible, but it'll just connect for you, and then you'll be good to go. I'm going to go over some other things here on this page. You actually can send lineups from here. You can do that a couple places. So you can do that here or from this MRP Live up here. I generally just do it up here because I'm already working in lineups, but you have the option to send it here. We have best lap view keywords. So inside the MRP Live, fans can view the timing. Fans and drivers can view the timing from their phones. And with the best lap view, what it'll do is, instead of sorting it out by who's gone on the track and kind of lap order, it'll sort by who has done the fastest laps. Right now it's set to pick up on these specific keywords. If it sees those keywords, it's going to put that view automatically into the best lap view for us. So if that's something you do, if you do qualifying or anything like that, take a look at that. It's going to match up to the race name when we get into the races. We also have this broadcast ticker here. If you are have a live broadcast going on here, let us know. If you want to do that, we can actually get something for the broadcast ticker. There's a few things we'll need from you if you're doing something like that. So just let us know. But that's all the things on this page. And once it picks up on a race here, once we get all lineups and things, we'll come back to it and we'll show what it does kind of in action. But for now, we're just going to move into the entries. So everything's just going to kind of flow downward. So it's going to kind of funnel yourself down until we get to points and pay. But from here, we have our entries. These are all of the drivers who have raced with me in the past. Either they've raced there before or they've done my online registration. So they have a lot of drivers in here, but we can filter that big list out by searching by first name, last name, or car number. So let's do that. We'll go for Chuck Brown Jr. Let's see a few things about Chuck. We have his default car number in the system right here. We have the PIL number right here. It's drawn that for me automatically. We have owner information. It's going to be here in the box. You can also have the payout going to that owner. This actually has a default here, so it's remembering that for me. We also can put in the transponder number. It's going to remember the transponder numbers that they've used in the past, so I'm just going to use that. We can set it as a default, so it will remember to use that, or we can set it as a rented transponder. You can do both. We have his age in the system because he's claimed his profile. He's put that in there. We also have his address on file. It looks like we got that from doing the online registration. The last bit here is the lineup override. Now he drew pretty badly, so odds are he probably is going to start in the back anyway. But if we really needed to make sure, we could set him to the back of the heats or of all races. So if he really wanted to make sure he wasn't starting up front, we could set him to the back there. And that'll make sure that even as other lineups are created, or as we create lineups, it'll just, no matter what, it'll put him in the back there. So the question is, if it's your first year with MRP and you've never had a driver register, would you need to enter in the information? You can. Odds are, though, we have a lot of drivers in the system already, just from various things. So you should be able to find them in the search. We'll go over that in a bit. But what I'd recommend you do is set up the online registration. That can be done here in the season management. So when you do that, you can put that into the season management, and then you can have the drivers register online. That'll do double duty. So it'll get you the address information in here, which will populate into the contact list. That contact list also populates to the end of the year payout report, and it populates to the checks. So if you check printing, plus you just have their addresses so that you can export those out for various information, so you have that in there. So I'd recommend doing the online registration and having your drivers register online. If you have other questions that you'd like answered, feel free to ask them. If it seems like I'm ignoring you, I'm not. I'm just keeping going. I will come back to every question that's asked for me. Okay, so let's enter in a driver. So we can keep doing this, just entering in that driver here, taking a look over all their information and adding them in. But we could do other things as well. So one of them, it's to import from a previous race. So if we had a 2-day show that was Friday into Saturday, and we knew a lot of the same people were going to be at this race, we could actually just pull over different drivers with their pill numbers and transponder numbers if they're using those. So put that pill number here. This would be if we had the system draw. You do that. That's why I'm not a driver, folks. And then we can enter in the numbers here too, which I will do. This is that checkbox here too. So if you forgot to check that as a rented transponder or not, we could do that. So we could mark that as a rental. And then this will show in the transponder list report up here. So inside the transponder list, you can see that it's rented. I know a lot of people use this to keep track of the rentals, and then they take like a license or what have you, and then they have them sign back with the once they receive that rented transponder. So you can account for your transponder, make sure the drivers don't run off with them. Other things that we can do, we can use the search. So if we were to search for a driver right here, we don't find it, we can hit the search box and search throughout the MyRacePass network and find our driver if they exist. If they don't exist, we can actually create a new driver and fill out their information. So when you fill out their information here, if you do have to create a brand new driver, for one, make sure that you are legitimately creating a new driver. I intentionally made one in a previous webinar here to see the difference here. So we have Chuck and Charles Ground. So those are the same person, but the system's going to treat them as two separate people. We can fix that for you, but if you're using things like point averages, or well, it'll even throw off end of the year points if you duplicate drivers, and it cause headaches for other tracks down the line. So we really want to try to avoid that. A great way to avoid that, though, is to use the scan barcode right up here at the top. So with that scan barcode, drivers who claim their profile inside of MyRacePass, which all these drivers have done, inside the app, they are able to get their own special hard card box. They can click that on the app and you're able to scan them in. That will pull up their profile For one, it saves a lot of time for you because you'll get their correct profile. And for two, make sure that you don't have you're always using that same driver there. If you are a sanctioned track, so USRA or WSOTA sanctioned track, all of the drivers who get a license through USRA or WSOTA will get a card that you can use, and you can scan them in as well. That is one last thing I do want to point out is that if this was a sanctioned um, event, so sanctioned with USRA or sanctioned with WSOTA, it'll actually tell you right down here that they have that license with that class. It'll warn us several times if we are going to be doing something or using a driver who doesn't have a license. So it's going to keep track of that. Um, as soon as they are licensed with the sanctioning body, it'll update that here. Uh, if you do have a driver that is registering in a different or is not licensed, you'll have the option to have them buy a temporary license or to do a membership bypass. The difference between the two is that a temporary license is for a driver just buying for that single event. They're just only racing for the one. The membership bypass would be a situation where if you had a driver um, who waited until 15 minutes before the event was going to start to go online and get their USRA or WSOTA license. Um, those aren't going to be processed. They have to be the people at the front office there will do that. But they still paid. So you would take a look at the invoice, see that that's paid, and do the bypass so that when the weekend happens, after the weekend happens, they'll be processed. They'll go through there. Make sure you use the correct one. Both sanctions use the membership bypass and the temporary licensing for their own accounting purposes, so it keeps track of who owes what there. So you might be liable to pay money you don't have to. And also, the membership bypass ones, if they do get a license, end up getting fixed over time. It keeps track of that and clears them off the report. So it's, again, done for better sort of accounting for those kind of things. So make sure you're using the correct one. Your sanction will thank you. Side here, we're also going to have, it's going to not let me have duplicate transponders or duplicate car numbers. The last thing here is going to be the speed entry button, and as long as I don't have either of those things, duplicate transponder or a duplicate car number, it'll let me check those drivers in here, and you can see that it's going pretty quickly to enter all those folks in. If you have any questions about anything here, we're going to be moving on to creating our races. But you can hit Alt and H, bring up the chat window, ask away, and I will be getting to your questions here in a little bit. We'll have a space set aside for questions. Let's take a look at our races now. So on this screen, we can manually add races. We're also able to add in previous races, so previous setups. This is handy. Say you have a special that you ran. So I want to recreate what we did here on the 23rd, I could do that. Or it remembers how many entries you have. So, if you have 10 entries and you know you're always going to do the same thing with those 10, when you have 10 entries, you can do that. So let's add our entries here, or our, not our entries, our races. So we can add one heat and one A feature, or I'll mix it up. Let's have them qualify first. So I'm going to have them qualify and then go to the feature. So we can set in how many laps we're going to be doing, how many go to tech, and add that in here. So once we do that, it's going to create that for us. It's going to ask what we want to do for the transfers here. So this is the most important part. You're going to make sure that you're setting who's moving on to the next race. So for me, I'm just going to have them qualify based on their pill number. And then from there, we're just going to have them go to the A feature based on their qualifying, and I'll do a redraw right along with it. So we'll do that. We have that here per race, so that's going to take drivers out of each race, as opposed to from group, where it's going to take from the pool. So if we were to do something like this, where we have 2, let's kind of mix it up. So 9 per race will give me 18, so 9 and 9. 9 from group would just give me 9, so the best 9 in passing points is what that's for. It's going to default to 1 per row here with qualifying. Everything else will go to 2 per row. You can see that we have the features here. We could add more if we needed to as well. So we could add, if we needed to add heats or additional features, we'd add that here. Or if it's a race that we already have created, we could add more qualifyings or more A features. We're also able to change the names on those and put in sponsors as we see fit. All right, so inside of here, we're gonna have our qualifying. So I could just click the drivers as I want them to, or as I would like them to be here, or faster ways to use to calculate lineups. So inside of here, I've actually selected the lineups that I'm more likely to use. We're gonna use that qualifying from pill draw. It's gonna create that out. If you want to see how you can make that, you can do that here in the lineup settings. So inside the lineup settings, you're going to pull up the list of every lineup that we have in the system available. You can choose the ones that you're just going to be using throughout the year, and that'll show up on the My Lineups section. You're also able to change the name of them to here. So if you wanted to change it, so if we were doing passing points, but we were only using those passing points for a special, we could do that here. So you have a question of 30 races at our track, mostly the same division. Would we have to do this for every race? You're gonna need to elaborate a little bit. Do you mean pick out the lineups you're gonna use? Because generally you don't only do that the once. Do you mean the race management? I'm gonna need more information to know exactly how to answer that. But from here, we're gonna go into um, the send lineups. It's gonna say the lineups are sent. And inside of here, I'm going to clean this out a little bit. You will probably have cleaner orbits than I do. We're going to import our groups and runs. So in that file that I sent over, in that folder there in MRP Live, I've created those. So we have our runs here. We'll import the runs, send them over, and then it'll have our qualifying available, and we can get started with the timing. For this demonstration for orbits, I have to use the simulator here. We need to start the timing. So we'll start it. All of my drivers are going to qualify at the same time here. But you'll notice that it did go to the best lap view instead. So as they go here around the track, it is going to sort them by their best lap because this is a qualifying race. So it picked up on the fact that the race was a qualifying and sorted them by their best laps. So it's doing that here for me. We can change this, so I'm going to end the session here. We're going to throw the checkered. Stop this. Now from here, as soon as we hit the stop button, that means we are good to go. It's the results are ready to be sent back into MyRacePass. So we'll hit stop here. It stopped it. And now when we go into our results, we have our latest pending race. Import that over. Based on the results of that qualifying, we have that ready to go. We can put in now if they did not finish, did not start, were disqualified, were black flagged. And if you're using passing points, we can mark it as no passing points. If we need to move drivers around, so let's say Perry had a transponder that actually just fell off, we can move him right up there, hit save, and it's good to go. We can share this to Facebook and Twitter right from here. You can, anytime you see this icon, you're able to share that to social media. You're also able to view these right now from the app. So inside the MyRacePass app, as soon as we updated the qualifying, you're able to see that um, right from there. You also can see the lineups. As soon as I create the lineups inside of MyRacePass, those um, update for us automatically. So all of that's free inside of the app, so you can view the lineups, the points, the results, all for free inside the MyRacePass app. The timing does have an app subscription of $7.99 for the year. So we're going to switch it up. Go to, so I'm going to disconnect this. Again, this is probably not something you guys are going to do often, but I'm going to switch it up um, to race manager. So we're going to do the Westhold. So if you have Westhold, we're going to get that going for you here. So you would have done this before entering in drivers. I'm just going to switch it up here. Really, it's going to be a lot of the same information. So if you're using Westhold, you have this IP address right here. Same box, you're going to put that from. The biggest difference is the TCP IP port is underneath our monitor. It's not this one. It's going to be this one here. So if it's 50,000, you're going to put that here. You're going to have the Enable Network button selected. We'll switch to orbits. And then also, inside of your computer, it's going to be where you'll find right here. So Race Manager has a specific file folder. We'll create that, or we'll switch to that, and then it'll be connected. And so now when we go down into the lineups, we can create our race. So I'm just going to do an A feature from qualifying. It's pretty straight up there on the qualifying. So it's going to use exactly the qualifying order. I'm actually going to invert the top 5. So right up here in the lineup options, I can select however many I want to invert. We can do that. So you see that flash, it's inverted 5. If I wanted the top 5 to redraw, we can do that as well. So I can hit this redraw button, select however many I want to redraw. It'll pull up the options here. I can either put in the button manually or have the system draw for me for those redraws. Let's try that one more time here. There we go. So you can see down here in the corner, it'll have that. If you have a lineup that has that baked in, it'll pull up that redraw for you. I believe the Wasota lineups have some redraws already kind of done in for them as well. Here's that share button for the lineups. For MRP Live, we'll hit send lineups right over here. Say the lineups are sent. Inside of assign here, we will find our 410A feature. And then we are ready to go. Same idea. So as soon as the race goes through, stop it. And that stopping, again, we'll put that into the results here for me. Now we can go into our points and pay. So inside of points and pay, we're gonna be able to add the points and pay groups that we want to use. So we have our point scheme that we made here, pay scheme. We can add that. Based on how we set up our points and pay, it's going to create that for us. We're also able to see in here, right, we can get into our points pay schemes. You can also do that inside of season management. So if you need to manage that, we can do adjustments. So we can add or remove points or pay, however we want to do that. And then once we're done, we'll hit create payments. Make sure you do that. It does work towards end of year reporting. So I know this is used a lot for check printing, but even if you don't print checks, still hit that button to do that. We can select who's going to receive those checks. The ones that I've selected the owners to receive will be updated here. We can create the checks, pull up our window, select the number we want to do, and create. So we have the addresses on file. They'll put those in there for us. We also can export this to the desktop version of QuickBooks. We also can print now. This is kind of fresh off the presses. We can print mailing labels from here as well. So if we needed to do mailing labels, we do that. More reasons to do online registration. Here's all of my drivers there for that. If you have any questions, Alt and H is the place to do it. Gonna open it up for questions for folks now. So feel free to do that. Alt and H, the place to ask any questions you have. Another thing, I did touch a little bit on the reports here, but we do have entry list, transponder list, 3 different kinds of lineups reports. So I'm going to open one up here for your viewing pleasure. So you can actually see once here, I actually did a different class. So if I just wanted to print just A features, you always are able to select out the type. I'll print out just our A features available. We also can sort by races that are completed and races that are done. Is there a way for drivers to do your tracks registration on the app? Not yet. That is something that could be done here. I'm not sure. I think with a lot of folks are pretty much starting, so they're not available to do that quite yet inside of the app, but that is a great idea, and I know that's something that has been discussed. So I enter results manually. Before I can do that, I have to go to races and change the status of the race to completed. Is there a way to change the race status in the results area? Yes, the race status actually changes automatically for you. So when you go into and enter in a race, so we'll go into races here and I'll show you what I mean. If I put my qualifying into lineups and then go back into results, when I hit save as completed, you're actually going to see the icon change right over here to that checkered flag. And that means it has gone to completed. So you actually don't have to change the status of the race at all. If you see that the race is already set to completed, that's probably because you're working in the past. So if I worked on a race that happened yesterday, it's going to set that to automatically completed because the system's going to assume that it already happened and that you're entering in past results. Had a request to show off something in the season management here. So inside of season management and inside of points, you're actually able to see the point standing features for everyone. So this is going to be a great tool here for us to see at a glance exactly how my points are. So we can see all of the points that are available here. The earnings, so this guy gets paid to the owner. We can see the owner information. The important thing here too is we can see the events that are included and events that are not included. So these actually aren't counted. So I have so if we're looking and everyone seems a little short, we actually see, oh, I didn't apply points on these days. We can see how the point standings were as a specific date. We can even click on a specific driver and see exactly how many points they received on a specific time. So if I'm going through here and everything looks okay, but one of them, whoa, he has 87. How did he get 87? Then you can kind of figure out what sort of happened there. This is a really good tool for you to use. I use this a lot myself, sort of in my own kind of work process here is to add all these in that way. So you can see all the events that are included. And then also you have this refresh public points. So if you to change something here, you can set that to refresh the points. That'll send kind of signal to update that. So if you did find and have to make a correction sort of after race night, you could do that and then it'll update everything out for you. Is there a way to save without completing so that it isn't available to the public? Yes. So inside of results, this triangle right here, you can save as a few different statuses. So you can save it as completed, which is the main button here. You can save it as in progress. So if you're working, so the race is going sort of in progress, you can do that. Unofficial results, or you can just hit save only. Save only will keep everything, keep its place. I believe it'll show unofficial results to the public, but it'll display them as unofficial results, so it'll have that there. But if you hit save only, I don't believe that transfers up. Same with completed shows and unofficial results show. But if you just need to hit save only, that will keep it and won't display public. If you do that though, remember that you do have to hit save as completed. If you don't hit save as completed, it won't work specifically well for things like points. So points could end up getting thrown off. Transfers could end up getting thrown off if you don't hit save as completed. That's kind of its thing to know that we're ready to move forward there with the next few things. So keep that in mind. If you do that, more than happy to. You also can save results so they don't show up to the public. If you want to do that, inside of calculate lineups, there's this little checkbox here. So inside of the checkbox, you can click to set the races to lineups. And if you do that, it's going to default to do that, but you can also uncheck it, create them and double check everything. And then from here, same thing. You can also save as lineups or just save. So you have a lot of options there. Alt and H though, the place to enter in any questions that you have, answering all of those questions. Going to leave everything, going to leave this open here for the next few minutes. We do have another set of webinars here tonight. So at 6:45, here in about 40-ish minutes, I'd say. We do have another set of webinars available. Then tomorrow, or Thursday, sorry, not tomorrow. Then Thursday, we have another set of webinars, 5:30 and 6:45. Thursday night, we're going to be going to MRP Live, Westhold and MyLabs integration, MRP Live troubleshooting, MRP Live uploads, common questions. That's going to be both. And then here in 6:45, going to be doing a full race night, backgate entry, creating lineups, connecting MRP Live, results, points and payout, printing checks, and common questions. So I actually might do another different lineup type available there. Or if you want to see how a specific set of lineups would work, feel free to ask that now. Like I said, leaving it open here. well, you do have questions, so feel free to ask away. And yep, like I said, make sure that you, at the end of the night, go in here to the points pay and hit that create payments. That is going to be used for a specific report at the end of the year. So make sure it's doing that. You'll do that for each class. Each class will have that create payments there. Some people who might be a little bit more eagle-eyed might notice that we have a communication tab here as well. So that's something that just launched. You might have heard me mention some of the different push notifications. So you actually are able to see those messages here, see who those are going to, who's opened them, my percentage, unique users, so I can see what's been sent out and how many people have viewed them here. So that is a option that you have. So you can see that I had a test article and one person opened it. So that is a new feature that you'll have available as we work to improve the push notifications that'll be done on the app. If you have any questions about that, I did go over that on some webinars, I believe a week or so ago, maybe a week, a little before. So those are all available, including this one, will be available in our YouTube page, so myracepass.com/YouTube. Also, the page that you went to get onto this webinar will also have that available. I'm going to have the last call for questions, so any questions that you have, mention those now. Or I guess you'll have to wait until the next one, or reach out to us directly. You can reach out at support@myracepass.com as well. So I'm going to leave it open for questions for a little bit. I'll stay on for as long as we have questions. Otherwise, I hope to see you here at the 6:45 webinar. I had a question about how to get lineups to a TV at the pit shack. You can do that in the tools lineup monitor. If you have the TV hooked up to the internet, you can connect it to that lineup monitor here. It'll ask for the screen size, and then I'll show it. So if we have any races that are in lineups, it'll show them. Kind of cheating here, so hold on. So it'll actually display all of the lineups that are viewed here, and then as that race has results put on it, and the results are saved, it'll move those off the page to push in for other lineups. Though a lot of people have just been pushing for folks to go to the app itself, and they just can view that because it's free for them to view on the app. They just do that. It's easier for the driver to do. They don't have to go out there themselves or send a gopher or however they want to send that out to do that. But those are, so I highly recommend getting your fans to download the app. You can get notifications and things. That's one of the one of the new things that'll be happening soon. So again, yep, you're going to go to the tools, lineup monitor, and that would be where you'd go for that. Tools, lineup monitor. Again, Alt and H, the place for questions. All right. Well, I do thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Again, we'll have the next webinar here in about a half hour. So feel free to attend that one if you'd like. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much, everybody.